Good afternoon, panel.
Hi.
In W.E.B. Du Bois's book, The Souls of Black Folks, he does a comparative study of races in connection with marriage rates. He says that marriages began to degress in age. He noticed a rate that among the Negroes in times of slavery and early years of post-slavery, that it went from the late teenage years, or rather the early teenage years, a decade later, the late teenage years, sometime later to the early 20s, and so on and so forth. I heard the panel discuss, that 7 out of 10 black women are single, 3 in 10 will not be married. I see that what Du Bois predicted has come to pass, especially with the promiscuity and degradation of the values of the race because of the lack of marriage. Therefore, my question to you is, how do you restore the value of marriage in a community? Further, you made mention of the status quo, which is get your life together first and then get married. And I think that the recession of marriage in the black community and that concept are interconnected. I think the issue is one and the same. So can you unpack that a little bit, when you said, get your life together first, go to grad school first, and then get married? It shouldn't be that way.
Well, I think at a bare minimum what we need to do is to basically communicate both to African Americans but to the broader society that if you're thinking about having kids, it's important to be married first, if that's in your early 20s or it's in your late 20s or even in your 30s. And that would be, I think, a point of conversation that most Americans could listen to and engage. And beyond that, on the issue specifically of African Americans and trying to sort of turn a corner on marriage in the black community, I think one very key line of attack on that has to be sort of seeing marriage as a kind of an issue of the survival of the race, sort of in terms of framing it as a way in which really lifting up the race, that there has to be a degree of ownership on that issue that really is seen as a way of lifting up the black community. And once that happens, I think it's possible to kind of turn a corner, but it has to be seen in kind of an almost, I think, radical revolutionary terms as a crucial dimension of strengthening the black community as a whole.
And there really have to be kind of bold, brave people to take it on. I'm reminded of, there's a woman, Crystalline Russell Karazine, she's out in California, started a group called No Wedding, No Womb. And she's
No wedding, no
womb, like womb. Oh. And she's a liberal-leaning African-American woman, mother of 4, young, highly educated, very savvy about marketing and stuff. She's taken on this idea, this concept, and she's willing to kind of go to the mat on it. She's been very creative about Twitter campaigns and all kinds of stuff and gotten a lot of media. She gets all kinds of crap from people saying, why are you saying marriage is important? You're selling out your sisters by saying they did something wrong by having children out of wedlock and all that. But she keeps going, and because she has encountered so many young women and young girls who are, apparently from her, is the first time that they've heard that you're worth waiting for. You're worth, yeah, no wedding, no womb. If a young man wants you in that way, you tell him that you want to be married first and you're valuable. You can expect that. So there's just this attitude she encounters among young people of just not feeling like they're even worth expecting marriage, and then older people in her community telling her that she's giving, kind of playing into some conservative right-wing plot by saying that marriage matters. But she's brave, and there are others like her. So,
can I just comment on this? I mean, the way I, put it, and the way I think about it is ironic and it is sad that just when opportunities are opening up to African Americans across the board, and we're in the post-civil rights era, we have a massive private disinvestment in the next generation. I mean, essentially, we have virtually most of the male African American population not investing in children, on anything like the scale that men in other groups are. And here, I'm going to say this: blacks will never be equal in this country as long as this situation persists, right? As long as we have whites and white men and white married couples investing in their children at many, many times the rate that black men and black married couples are investing, there cannot be equality, because most of what builds human capital happens in the first 5 years of life. And nothing that institutions can do after that can ever make up for the deficits that we have right now in what I call the private investment in the next generation.
That strikes me at least as a profound statement, and socially very important, and something we're going to be hearing a lot more about.